So I see it's straight up 8. Happy Good Friday to everybody. And I see we have a full quorum. And I think we hopefully have not that full a day, but I know we have a full day, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This meeting has been publicly noticed as a special meeting for the State Loan and Investment Board. It's related to the ARPA programs, the Water and Sewer, and the Health and Human Services Construction application programs. We will start with Board Matter J1. That is to consider 61 applications for Chapter 41 Water and Sewer ARPA grants. And just by way of background to kind of bring everybody up to speed as far as where we are. The American Rescue Plan Act Water and Sewer Program was created during the 2022 budget session of the Wyoming Legislature. $50 million was appropriated to the Office of State Lands and Investments from the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund for grants to be awarded by the State Loan and Investment Board for eligible water and sewer projects. The board promulgated Chapter 41 rules for the administration of the program, and those rules are based on guidance from the U.S. Treasury and the requirements of the authorizing state legislation. On October 27th of 2022, the board held a special meeting to consider 113 funding recommendations under the program. 27 applications were approved for funding by the board, totaling the full $50 million. During the 2023 general session of the Wyoming Legislature, an additional $30 million was added to the program for a total of $80 million. The board's consideration for funding under the program, however, is limited to applications that were submitted on or before January 23rd of 2023. So OSLI is now offering 61 recommendations for the water and sewer ARPA grant funding. Unfortunately, it's very oversubscribed. The total amount of the applications is $225,481,868. Detailed within the board materials are 19 applications recommended for funding, 14 for full funding, and 1 for partial funding. Due to the limited funds available, the remaining 46 applications are not recommended for funding. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would ask Ms. Blackwell. I think there may have been some revisions even since we put out the board materials.
Mr. Chairman, the water sewer board matter is good. There is one change to the J3. If you want me to talk about it now, I can, or we can do it when we get to that one.
Pleasure of the board. You want to hear about J3 now? That's fine. Let's go.
J3, the application for Cloud Peak counseling, which would be in the bottom section where the partially funded apps are. It's application 1116. That one has been withdrawn.
Okay, and thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my introduction, and I'll leave it to your discretion with respect to how you wish to proceed.
Well, members of the board, you've had these matters for some time. Is there an approach that we would like to take?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would entertain a potential consent list to kick us off, if that might be prudent.
That sounds without objection. Let's do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I went through and compared, over the last course of several fundings for the water and sewer, those communities that had not received prior funding for water and sewer, and identified their either sole project or first priority project that meet our staff recommendations and are under or 2.5 million or under. And so that came out to 5 projects that I would propose for a consent list. Again, these have not received prior funding under water and sewer. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like me to list those.
Sure.
So the first is ARPA number 1053, and that is for Bedford in the amount of $256,000.
Let me just write those down. 1063?
1053.
1053.
About a quarter of the way down on the first page.
Okay.
Following that is 1056, Town of Wamsutter. And that is $695,058, about halfway down on the first page.
Okay.
Third, towards the bottom of the first page, is ARPA number 1104, City of Cody, for $2.5 million.
Okay.
Next is Wright Water and Sewer. That's the very bottom of page 1, 1043, for $777,000. And lastly is towards the bottom of the non-funded 1057 Town of Cowley for $387,858.
Okay. Members of the board, you've heard the proposed consent list. Is there support for the consent list? It's been seconded by the treasurer. Any discussion? Madam Auditor, did you have a?
Nope.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. And remember to speak up. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Secretary, did you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. That motion carries. So without objection, I would entertain a motion to accept the director's recommendations. I guess not the director's recommendations, the superintendent's motion for funding on the items on the consent list.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by the secretary. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That motion carries. Thank you, Superintendent. All right, members of the board, what's your approach next? Do we want to walk down through the list one by one? Are there particular ones that need to be dealt with first?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it would be my preference to move through the list, particularly those that have not received partial funding previously.
Okay. Thank you. Well, with that, we'll take up item 1013. Does that correspond with your list? We have many, many lists here, so I want to make sure we're on the right one. Thank you. With 1013, we'll start with the City of Sheridan Airport Water Transmission Main for $2,720,000. Is there someone from Sheridan? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. The City of Sheridan applied for ARPA funding request in the amount of $2.7 million for our airport transmission replacement line. The Hans Mercer, City of Sheridan, I'm sorry about that. The line has a lot of corrosion. We've seen a lot of water line breaks. It's 3.3 miles long. The original engineer's estimate was roughly $4.6 million, and then throughout the course of COVID, it's increased to approximately $8.7 million. And it's a very important project.
Very good. Are there questions? Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Scoggin, in terms of the recommendation, I mean, there isn't a narrative here. I assume it's because of their previous awards that you did not recommend the funding, but could you put a little more clarity on that? Thank you. Because it was the highest score.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, the City of Sheridan, during the first round of water and sewer projects, they received $2,840,000 $100,000 for their first priority project. Furthermore, they have received, including that, their total rescue funds that they've received from the office is close to 5.4. They also received direct ARPA funding in the amount of $3 million.
Thank you. Follow-up? No. Okay. Further questions? Further questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. What's your pleasure? Or do you want to walk through these one by one and then come back and look at them?
Mr. Chairman, if they're real big ones, I think I want to come back to them. If they're, some small ones, I think that we can go ahead and deal with them.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bum, can you send me an invitation? Thanks. Okay, so hearing the the treasurer's notion, it seems to me what we'll do is move down through the largest ones. Does that make sense to you? So this would then skip the town of Upton and move to the city of Laramie, following by the city of Gillette, city of town of DuBois, et cetera. Does that make sense to you, or do you want to walk just one by one?
I think what I was thinking that when I said deal with the smaller ones, we could go ahead and either pass them or fail them and then move on. But we got to get over all of them and look at all of them anyway at some point in time. Probably,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Well, we'll walk down through one by one so that we're in order here. 1172, town of Upton, Highway 16, water main crossing. And I guess members of the board, make your notes because we'll come back to this. We'll come back to these as we go through. So town of Upton, Mark, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mark Lindstrom, Superintendent for the town of Upton. Yes, this water main project, it crosses the Highway 16 on the west side of Upton. Purpose of it is to replace a 6-inch with an 8-inch to match up with the 10-inch that we installed years ago for the better circulation flow and to the south side of Upton. So that's a very brief overview of it. If anybody has any questions?
Any questions for the town of Upton?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how an 8-inch matches up with the 10-inch. If you got a 6-inch, it seems like you'd put a 10-inch in if you wanted to match up with a 10-inch.
Well, we're matching with the 8-inch on the other side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. No, Mr. Chairman, I think just a comment that Upton's got some light industrial stuff coming in there with rare earth minerals, and I think that's going to kick off. I think they're going to need this added capacity on the other side of the highway for a variety of things.
Appreciate that. Beth, can you tell us just sort of what their funding status is now?
The town of Upton has received, I believe it is $1.2 million in the first round of funding. I do not believe they came in and requested funds or CARES funding. They did not request any CARES funding.
Okay.
So the reason they were a no fund on our list is because we had given them a grant the first round.
Okay, thank you. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of 198712 to the town of Upton.
Been moved and seconded. Treasurer got there just a little bit before you, Mr. Secretary, but thanks. That's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Thank you all very much.
Yep, thank you, Mark. We now have the city of Laramie. Wellhead building upgrades, priority 1 of 2, $1,290,000 is, and I see we have Brooks Webb online. Mr. Webb?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. I was hoping to be there with you this morning, but I'm a little under the weather, so decided to not make the drive over the hill. This project is pretty important to us. The city underwent a Homeland Security assessment of our utility system back in 2018. And this is one of the top projects that Homeland Security recommended for us due to vulnerabilities of our existing wellhead buildings. This project replaces 6 existing wellhead buildings with permanent structures that include remote monitoring and security systems. Anyway, I just want to thank you for hearing from us this morning and your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Webb? Any questions? Okay, considering the treasurer's notion of being able to come back and revisit the largest ones, we'll go ahead and move on to the town of Star Valley Ranch, Hardman Bridge replacement, $254,220. Mr. Webb, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think that was in the consent list, wasn't it? No, it wasn't? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm wondering if some of these large ones, we should ask the question about whether or not you could get by with less on any of these. And so when we go back to them, that's a question I'll ask,
Okay.
ask Laramie and if the other folks can opine as they're going through, that would make the process go faster.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Webb, I hope you heard that, and I'm sorry that you're not feeling well, but hopefully we don't give you complete indigestion. What we're going to do is come back to the largest ones that we have skipped over, and we'll ask if there's any way to get a reduction on them. With that, we're moving on to ARPA number 1, Town of Star Valley Ranch, Hardman Bridge replacement, $254,220. Is there, I see Mayor Byers online. Mayor Byers.
Good morning. Thank you so much. And I also didn't make it to Cheyenne, even though I promised I would. But we have a bit of snow here. Let me just say that. So anyway, this is kind of a unique project because we have 2 bridges that are very close together. And one of them failed in the spring, and we had to close it. When we had the engineer come out and look at those bridges, we realized that the other one, which is probably 2 minutes by car away from it, is also failing. And so that is why the town council decided to apply for additional funding to repair or replace one of these bridges, not both of them. I do know that we received $1.4 million for water, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Since the bridge is such a unique project, I would prefer that we not fund the bridge and that you focus on water and sewer, which the governor knows is my passion, is making sure that the water systems are properly managed and work properly. So thank you very much.
So, Madam Mayor, do I take that to mean you're withdrawing this request?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next, we move to the city of Gillette, Camplex Lift Station, $2 million. Is there someone from the city of Gillette here? Good morning, sir. How are you? When it turns red. There you are.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joe Shane. I'm the city engineer with Gillette, and with this lift station project, it's really aging. It has dire need due to it's over 40 years old, as well as some failing components within it. We can't find the parts and pieces anymore, so therefore we have to get a new one. One of the big things why this is for the application, we are looking at, we had a $2.5 million cost estimate originally. It has grown now, and we actually have awarded this project at $4.1 million for total cost, and that's the reason you see the the request for $2 million. And any partial funding, to answer that question, absolutely, we could take some partial. It's due to increase of cost as well as the materials. Time and materials is the big thing, getting everything delivered. So I'll take any other questions if you have anything.
All right. Mr. Treasurer, were you reaching forward for a question? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Not, thanks.
Thank
We'll
you.
hopefully be expeditious and get back to you soon. Thanks. Next, we have item number 1213, Green River Rock Springs, Sweetwater County Joint Powers Water Board, the Pump Station 2019 project, priority 1 of 2. And Beth, Ms. Blackwell, I apologize if I'm not asking you, but if there's anything of particular note here, please speak up.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Is there anyone from the town of Green River? I see we have Brian Seppi. Mr. Seppi.
Yes, Honorable Governor Gordon and members of Slib Board. Thank you for hearing me. My name's Brian Seppi. I apologize for not being there. We had a rate setting meeting just yesterday afternoon that I had to attend. You see, we do have 2 applications in, and it's because we're a regional system. The board owns the water system in both towns, and thus we are submitting one of the applications for a project here at the plant. And then this project is in Rock Springs for a pump station, a new pump station and transmission line. It is a project that's been approved by Water Development, and so we've got partial funding from them, and we're looking to assist that partial funding with funding from this program. Obviously, costs have gone extraordinarily high. We all know that, and the city of Rock Springs would appreciate any assistance that they may receive on this project. And I believe they would certainly welcome even partial funding if that were to be the board's directive. With that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Seppi? Any questions? I hear none. Thank you for being available. We'll move on now to the town of Glenrock, Keller, and 9th Infrastructure Improvements, project 1 of 2, ranked 16, $736,250. This is project 1129. Good morning,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bruce Romell. I'm the mayor of the town of Glenrock. I'm here down again asking for some money. This project, we have a problem with that water main over there. It's ductile cast iron. We've had 3 breaks in it in the last 8 months. It's also a dead end line, so we don't have the best water quality on the end of it. We'd like to replace that line and take it across and tie it in out on Birch Street, which is US 2026. So we have a loop system there so we get better water quality through the system. We're asking for the funds of $736,250. The total project was just over, we've cut project numbers down, but our total project was estimated just last year at $2,890,000. We've cut part of the sewer and stuff out of there, but with the problems we're having with that water main, we felt it was going to become a priority for us. That's why we pulled the other one that we had $1 million for our transmission line to the south of Glenrock to our main water wells. That $1 million project that we had pulled from the last time. So, but we'd appreciate what funding we could get for this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Mr. Treasurer.
Just wondering what do you guys get either on an annual or a monthly basis for revenue off of your water fees?
Pardon?
I'm wondering how much money you make off your water.
I don't have that total. Our minimum water service charge per month is $62. And then with the number of water services in the town, I don't have those numbers with me to get from my treasurer, how much money we bring in. We're about to probably have to do a rate increase on our water and sewer.
Yeah, I think we got a disconnect on when our data got to us, because it says Glen Rock is at 2420. So we've got some old data then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the rate that was on their application.
Yeah, that might be it at the time. Just, I don't know when this application came in from Randy.
This application, what was put on the application is Glen Rock has had a rate of $22 up for up to 30 or 3,000 gallons, with additional 1,000 gallons costing $2.75. This rate has been in place since March 27th of 2017, and on their application, they did not mark that they were increasing their rates. And I would also like to state that this project was originally their priority 2. Their first priority was funded through the first round.
Thank you. Further questions? Members of the board, I will assume if you want to handle something that somebody will make a motion, so I'll entertain a motion. If not, we can come back and review this.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent,
I would move to fund Town of Glen Rock at $736,250.
the motion's been made by the superintendent. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by the auditor. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I propose this at this time, being under $1 million and seeing the last 2 rounds of funding, kind of looking at that threshold, and they've only received $1 million total throughout the rounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? That's a nay from the treasurer, a nay from the governor as well, but that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to the town of DuBois. The Meckham Street Water Storm Sewer Improvements, item number 1205. $1,971,673. Is there anyone from the town of DuBois, either here or online? We have Ms. Hurst. You have the floor. I think your microphone should be live. Sandy, is it possible your microphone on your computer is muted? Do you want to try typing into the chat box? Mr. Bump, any recommendations? If not, maybe we can come back here in a little bit.
Ms. Hust, it looks like your microphone might not be working. If you can try the phone number in the email you received, that might help.
Mr. Bump, maybe we'll come back and see if there's a way to hear from the town of DuBois. So we'll move on to 1175, City of Sundance, Ryan Street Water Line, priority 2 of 2. And Beth, I'm assuming that's still, is that 3 of 2 or 3 of 4?
Yes, sir. That
Okay.
was reprioritized.
Okay. And that is for $195,157. Is there anyone from the from the town of Sundance, city of Sundance. Paul, you're kind of difficult to get a hold of, guy. I've been trying to call you, but.
Yeah, well, you know, I had a clerk that did everything. And I never took on a job she wouldn't do. And now she's gone to Miss Lomas's office, and so I'm back.
Yeah.
What's happened, we've replaced our water lines, or we're trying to. We're trying to get our water pressures up. We're trying to get hydrants working. We're kind of in a critical spot where they didn't charge a high enough rate for a long, long time. And our infrastructure started to fail. We took it upon ourselves during building a school to start trying to get enough water, fire flow to all our hydrants. In the process, we put in a new water tank and fixed some problems. But as we've gone, we keep uncovering galvanized lines. So this is to replace a 2.5-inch galvanized line. Beth has the numbers, or I can give you the numbers on our pricing. We're not much higher than Glendo, but we in fact did just take a 4% rate increase on our water. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't have a viable project, however. So, you know, if you guys don't act, that's the way it is.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Brooks. Appreciate that. Mr. Treasurer.
I think there's another program that's just for galvanized lines. I don't know whether staff can help us remember that or not, but I'm pretty sure there's one. I think it's a loan program, though.
You know, we're really not in a position where we can take on much more.
Yeah.
One of the problems when you're in a small town, just the delays.
Yeah.
They're very costly and they're really hard on staff. You know, this is kind of one of those projects we're going to have a contractor in town doing another part. And what we hope to do is dovetail this on so that we can keep our mobilization minimized.
Right.
That's, you know, that mobilization, if you recall, Mayor Murphy sold the Gillette Madison pipeline on that mobilization cost. You know, when you're paying $75,000 or $80,000 to get a contractor to your town, but you already got one there, you know, that price comes down and it helps you some. There's a kind of an efficiency and scale.
Yeah. I don't think staff heard my question, but.
Staff is being coached.
There's some money that's coming in on basically replacing galvanized lines. And I don't know what that program is.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Treasurer, we will be receiving funds through the state revolving fund, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund for lead line replacement funding. I should be applying for that next month. You approved interest rates for those loans yesterday at 0%. So we're moving forward with it. It's just going to take us a little time to get everything put together because it is a new pot of money for us.
Can you use it to pay back other loans or anything, or what? How restricted is it?
The lead line replacement funding can only be used for lead line replacement. So you may be able to have to use multiple types of funding to complete a project. The sideboards on it are pretty strict. We're still learning about it because EPA is still issuing guidance because it is so new. Our revenue requirements for that pot of money is the same for all of our SRF programs in the sense that you have to have a dedicated source of repayment that's adequate to service the debt for the life of the loan. Generally, people pledge their user fees. Sometimes they pass special purpose taxes, but more often than not, it's user fees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Auditor.
Mr. Chairman, Beth, what was I know they had a lot of separate applications, but what's the dollar figure that they had actually received in the first round?
Sundance received, hold on.
I think 1.3 million. Madam Auditor.
I'm getting there. I have too many spreadsheets open. See a Sundance they got money through the local government program, and I'm trying to find that dollar amount. Sorry.
The mayor's reported 1.3 million.
I would trust him.
Yep, Mr. Chairman,
Madam Superintendent.
I have $1,310,400.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Treasurer.
I'd like to move approval of the grant to Sundance for the amount of $195,157.
That motion's been made by the treasurer. Is there support? It's been seconded by the secretary. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. We have dealt with the Bedford Water and Sewer District, but I'm going to go back. I thought I heard Sandy Hurst online, so we're going to move back to 1205, Town of DuBois. Are you indeed online?
I am online. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Thank you, Sandy. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to-
Sorry about that. Our computer does not have a microphone on it, so I was frantically trying to chat using my fast fingers, and it wouldn't work. Thank you very much. We are here.
Very good. All right, for the board, again, this is the Meckham Street Water Storm Sewer Improvements, $1,971,653. Are there any questions?
Yeah,
from
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman.
Hurst? Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is your capacity with a partial fund to be able to do this project?
What we have on this project is we were approved for a loan with a 48% forgiveness for the drinking water, and we were given a low-interest loan for the clean water portion of this project. Ultimately, what we're going to have to end up doing if we don't get some forgiveness through a grant is raise our rates astronomically to our ratepayers. Town of 911 people, we're currently at $30.10 a month for the base rate of water, and it's a tiered structure for usage. And we're going to have to raise the rates in order to do this project, to be honest, astronomically to our ratepayers. So we are asking for any kind of grant or to increase the loan forgiveness.